Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Michelle, and I'm going to be reading from this really incredible book. It's called 101 Proofs for God, and it was written by Jim Stevens through a lot of hard work and inspiration over 6 years. So the stories, there just really isn't a word to describe them. You'll just have to listen, and then you'll see how you're just going to be blown away. So I am going to read the first proof, and it's called Male and Female. So also I wanted to call your attention. I don't know if you can hear this woodpecker. He's making his home in a tree just close by. Can you hear? Okay, yes. So anyway, yes, this chapter 1, it's called Male and Female. So can you see that picture? Looks like there's something wrong with that picture, right? Okay. When people see in their minds a chart of the evolution of mankind, typically it looks like this. This illustration shows a human evolving through many intermediate stages from an ape to a man. However, one extremely important and totally essential half is left out of this picture. The result is that it gives you the wrong image of reality. So I'm going to show it to you again. Yeah. Who knows what's missing? At every single step of the evolutionary process, there must have been a female evolving exactly simultaneously with the male. All of the same genetic and physiological changes of the male would necessarily have to be duplicated in females. Changes in hands, in feet, the skeleton, organs, hair, everything must be mirrored in both males and females. Now this picture looks a little better, right? Depicting reality. However, science tells us that men's and women's bodies are also very different. Our brains are different. Our muscles are different. Our reproductive organs are totally different. Amazingly, male and female bodies are complementary as well. If there were to be an evolution in the male body of an ape to become more like a human, but no simultaneous and corresponding evolution in the female mate's body, then the trait would not likely be inherited to the next generation. Take opposable thumbs, for example. If the male evolved them, but the female didn't, what would happen? Likely, only some children would have opposable thumbs. Since all of the people in the world have opposable thumbs, then we have to assume that we all descended from one man and one woman who had such thumbs. This would also be true for human feet, pelvic bones, on and on. An explosion? Also, if we truly evolved opposable thumbs, genetics would have to predict that occasionally there would be people born today without opposable thumbs. If some of my ancestors were without opposable thumbs, and some of my wife's ancestors had no opposable thumbs, there is some chance my children would inherit that feature. And this is a note that Jim put in. This scenario would also have to hold true for all animals and fish, even plants, or any species with males and females. As an even more complicated example, where male and female are complementary rather than similar, how could the male evolve a penis unless the female must necessarily evolve a vagina simultaneously? Through an explosion? Otherwise, what advantage is the penis for natural selection? If you study the female human reproductive cycle, there are many changes taking place throughout the month. For example, her vagina is normally toxic for sperm. Only during a few days each month does that change, and her vagina actually becomes very hospitable to sperm, and the mucus is even created with fibers that help the sperm along their way to fertilize the egg. This is a phenomenal development that must have occurred at the time that a man got a penis. And that's not all. Even if a male body evolves some change and a female body develops a corresponding change, they still have to meet each other and mate successfully. In other words, they have to live in close proximity to each other. They both have to be of childbearing age at the same time. They have to mate. That mating has to produce a male child or a female child that inherits the new advanced trait. Then, when that child grows up, he or she must also find a mate with the same advanced trait to mate with successfully. If this doesn't happen, the trait would pass out of the race. Are you thinking about the odds of all of this just happening randomly? I suppose you could assume that the new advanced trait is dominant. Then, if any one individual has the mutation, then all of his or her offspring would have it. But isn't that a faith-based assertion? Evolutionists may hold unto faith in randomness. Let me read that again. Evolutionists may hold onto faith in randomness and believe in very tiny changes taking place over millions of years. But it still has to pass the test of practical reality of how our species procreates. Evolution is really based on faith and not scientific proof. I think faith in God is a far more elegant explanation. Somehow, I'm not able to imagine that evolution produces a viable penis and vagina through tiny incremental changes. Evolution theory has to postulate that any advancement somehow spreads throughout the entire human population of all males and females. In other words, every one of us had an ancestor that had the trait. Either we all descended from parents that both had the trait, or else all those born without the new trait totally died out and never reproduced. To believe that the above process happened at random without an intelligent creator invisibly guiding the process requires a huge amount of faith. Faith in randomness and chaos to produce this order and beauty. That's more faith than most of us religious people have. So there must be God. Okay. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great day. Take care, everybody.